Hi everyone. Just before we dive into the episode, here's a trailer from a fellow podcaster. So if you like what you hear, go and check it out.
Hello and welcome to A Killer Podcast.
We're a true crime podcast created by lifelong best friends who share a birthday, a shoe size, and a borderline unhealthy obsession with true crime.
I'm Freya Millard.
And I'm Amy Woodcock, and we're your hosts.
On each new season of A Killer Podcast, we explore a different theme surrounding true crime. And to kick it all off in season 1, we investigated murders with a supernatural twist.
That's right, and for season 2, we are tackling cases surrounding murder for money. So we'll be talking about the most extravagant and crazy ways people try to kill each other for some extra cash.
And don't forget, we've also got our 2-part Halloween special out right now, and we have plans for many more specials in the works.
At the end of each episode, we try to give you a glance at the bigger picture of the true crime field by asking each other burning questions relating to our educational backgrounds.
Yes, you see, I have a social science background, and Amy has one in forensics, and between the both of us, we hope to paint a relatively thorough picture.
So what are you waiting for? Get listening on your preferred podcasting platform at A Killer Podcast.
And feel free to follow along with us on social media at A Killer Podcast.
Until then, have a killer week.
Goodbye!
Hello and welcome to Crime Divers. I'm Laura.
And I'm Jill.
And join us this week as we dive into the case of sex, drugs and murder.
Hi everyone, welcome back.
Hi.
So we've had some good news this week, haven't we?
We have. We've had a nice little surprise this week.
Yes, we have got our very first
Patreon!
Yay! We have a supporter. So, I would like to say a massive thank you to our Patreon, which our scheme name is Jigglypuff.
Jigglypuff.
Yeah.
That's a good
But
scheme
I
name.
do not know that her name is Maggie. So, thank you so much, Maggie.
Yes, thank you, Maggie. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, like, to know that we have support out there, it's just amazing. It really is. I mean, like, when we first started this podcast, we never thought we would get any listeners.
No, I know.
And we have done so much better than what we expected to by this stage. I mean, we're still...
Oh, still early days.
Yeah, still early days. We're still a baby podcast. But,
Yeah.
you know, to get our very first Patreon supporter is just fantastic.
I know.
So thank you so much, Maggie.
Yes.
And if anyone else would like to join Maggie, over on our Patreon site, we have early access to episodes. We have bonus episodes. So if you want to go and have a look, go and check it out. We're just looking for Crime Divers on patreon.com.
And there will be.
And there we are. And if you can, and as well, you can chat to us as well. You can send us like private messages and.
Exactly, we like to interact, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really got many interactors yet because, as I said, you know, we're still new.
Mm-hmm.
So it just means the world.
Absolutely, and hopefully there'll be more to come.
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, because, you know, the more supporters that we have, then the longer we can do this for, the better equipment we can get, you know, it would...
I know, exactly. I'm really enjoying doing these podcasts.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
been fun, especially with the COVID going on, it's been nice to have a bit of a distraction and...
It gives us something to look forward to every
Absolutely,
week, you know,
yeah.
to do a recording, and it gives us an excuse to get together. It gives us an excuse to, we're talking about, you know, bad things that happen, but we do muck up so many times before we actually do record, so we end up in fits of laughter sometimes before we even start recording. So,
Yeah,
so I think we should just shut up now.
yeah, I think we've probably spoke long enough.
I think they got the idea that we're grateful for for any support that we get.
Yes, so let's start with this story. So what is it this week?
So, my case this week is called Sex, Drugs and Murder.
Ooh.
So, should we dive in?
Let's dive in.
Okay, so Kirsty Wilkinson was born on the 19th of June 1984 to her mum Kathy and dad Dave. She had 2 older sisters, Sonia and Hayley. They lived in Coventry in England, but they moved to Bridgend in South Wales when Kirsty was 14.
Mm-hmm.
As Kirsty got older, her dream was to follow in the footsteps of her idol Jordan, otherwise known as Kate Price.
Yeah.
And make it as a top model.
Yep. So if anybody doesn't know who that is, she's quite a famous woman in the UK.
Well, yeah, she's a model.
Yeah, I don't know if she's that well known in America. I mean, I know she's been to America because one of her previous husbands, they did a bit of stuff in America, but I'm not sure how big she is over there. But yeah, she's very big in the UK.
Yeah, great. Fortunately for us.
Not a
fan. I don't like to bash people, but I used to like her, but I think she could have made better choices in her life. Now that she's older, she could have made better choices. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say about her, because
I don't dislike her. I mean, I do kind of take note of what she's up to, I suppose, sometimes when you read it, but
I don't like to bash people, so we'll just move on. But yeah, I mean, at the time, when Kirsty, she was obviously at the height. Jordan was probably at the height of her career, and that's when, and she probably was somebody to be, what's the word?
Like looked up to.
Yeah, look, because she did have her modelling, and she had perfumes out. She had, what else did she have? She had books and.
Yeah, she's just been all round businesswoman.
Yeah,
she had a lot of what's the word? Is it fingers and pies?
Fingers and many pies or something like that. Many fingers, different pies. I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway,
that doesn't even sound right.
No.
Okay. So one day when Kirsty was 23, she phoned her mum Kathy and said, "Mum, I'm getting married." So Kathy didn't even know that she was seeing anybody. Mm-hmm. Kirsty said, "I've met someone called Paul, and we're getting married in 5 weeks."
All right. Bit quick.
Yeah. She said that she'd been at a party and that she'd met him there. Apparently, she said that they'd had a one night stand a couple of years before or something like that, and then they'd met up again.
Right.
But yeah, but soon getting married in 5 weeks. But
it does seem a bit quick.
Yeah. So, and when Kathy met Paul, she wasn't impressed. Mm-hmm. She said, well, her first impression was, quote, "What the hell is that?"
What the hell is that? Yeah. That's a nice way.
He was scruffy, unkempt, and had bad teeth, unquote. Okay. End quote. Did I say unquote there? End quote.
Yeah, you did.
So, you know what I meant.
I know what you meant.
Her sister Sonia said that when she met him, he just seemed a bit of a Jack the Lad, and she couldn't understand what Kirsty saw in him.
Right.
Kathy said that he was one of these people who just talked all this shit about how much he earned, what jobs he had. Like, according to him, he was a professional chef, he was a plumber, he was a mechanic, a racing driver, a male stripper, like, just loads of different things.
Really? Like that's going to be the case? I mean, I wouldn't believe that.
No, I wouldn't, but... And like to talk about how much money you earn and things like that.
That's just a show off then.
Yeah. Just not shut up. Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't like him either.
No.
Sorry. She didn't know anything about Paul's past, but she just had a bad feeling about him. And she was right. He wasn't a very nice person. For example, a former neighbour of his, a lady called Heidi, said that he had complained that Heidi had damaged his car, which she hadn't. Mm-hmm. And one day she drove into the street and Paul had set up like a roadblock and he was standing there with a baseball bat. So she quickly drove away and he jumped in his car and followed her and tried to run her off the road, and she ended up crashing into a brick wall.
Oh God, what a shame. I think she was alright.
Yeah, she must have been alright. I mean, I didn't see anything about, her being like really injured. Mm-hmm. But like, just for saying that he had no proof because she didn't do it.
Yeah.
And to do that's what a thug.
Yeah, total thug, yeah.
Yeah, total thug. So, Kathy, she didn't know about that, but as I said, she just said that she had a bad feeling about him, and she tried to persuade Kirsty to postpone the wedding and just to get to know each other a bit better before getting married. Like, she didn't see what the rush was.
Yeah.
But Kirsty wouldn't listen, and the wedding went ahead. But just weeks after the wedding, cracks started to appear in the marriage. Mm-hmm. Paul basically took control. He had control over her money. He had control of her body, which I will explain in a minute. Mm-hmm. And by marrying her, in his eyes, he had control of her life.
Right, okay.
And by control of her body, I meant that he controlled who she slept with.
What?
She was a sex worker.
Oh, I was going to say, who she slept with?
Yeah.
I was like, well, surely it would only be him.
They weren't a conventional couple. They both worked as escorts.
What, he was an escort as well?
Yeah. They were both advertising themselves for sex on the internet.
why the hell would they get married then?
I don't know. No idea.
That is
but
just really random.
According to Paul, Kirsty lied to her family about how they met. You know, she said they'd met at a party.
Mm-hmm.
They'd had a one-night stand in 2004, and then 5 years later they met at the brothel where she worked. He was a customer, so he was a sex worker, but he was also a customer as well.
Okay, that just... No, I don't like that sound of that. That's just really weird.
Well, each to their own, but...
Yeah, no, but you're paying for it, but you're getting paid for it.
I think...
Where's the logic in that?
Maybe he's a sex addict. I have no idea. I can't really comment.
It sounds
I
like
don't know.
it. But surely as an escort you could get as much as you want.
Yeah, but maybe it's different. Well, I'm assuming, because I don't know, but I would think it was different. If you're getting paid for it, it's just a job. But if you're paying for it, that's...
Pleasure,
because you want it, so there must be surely there must be a difference.
I don't know. I couldn't
know.
comment because I don't know.
But I think that's why she fell for him, because she didn't have to lie to him about
what she did
for a living, and he accepted her for who she was.
Right.
But in his eyes, I think she was just a money-making machine, because he was controlling who she was sleeping with.
Yeah.
He encouraged her to have sex for money. He set up websites to advertise her, and he even went to the brothel with her to make sure that she turned up for all her appointments. So it didn't exactly say, but what I got from it was that he'd maybe stepped back a bit from...
Alright, because was he not still doing it as much as she was?
I don't think so. It doesn't sound like it from what I read and what I saw. It sounded like he just kind of took a step back from it, and she was the one who was bringing in the money.
Right, okay.
And he was controlling who she was doing it with.
Yeah.
According to Kirsty's diaries, though, she didn't want that life anymore.
Right.
She just wanted to settle down and be a mum, and she actually thought that once they got married, that's what would happen. You know, they would both stop
doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, and they would settle down, have kids, and just be, your normal family.
Clearly, he had other ideas then.
Yeah. So just a few months into her marriage, she was on a night out with her sister, Sonia, and she told Sonia that Paul had been violent towards her. She said that she had been in the bedroom, and he had pushed her back onto the bed and sat on her stomach, and he'd had his hands around her throat. She said she thought she thought he was actually going to kill her, and she even wet herself. That's how scared that she was, that she actually wet herself. I know, it's awful, isn't it? But that probably wasn't the first time that he's been violent towards her, because experts say it would be very unusual for someone to start being violent by strangling someone.
Right.
They would usually start off smaller and
progress.
Yeah, they'd work their way up to it, basically. So even though that was the first time she told anybody about it.
Right, yeah. It probably happened before, yeah.
So when Kirsty's mum Kathy found out about the violence, she pleaded with her daughter to leave him, but she didn't. And even though Kirsty and Paul were both sex workers, they had different rules. So he put boundaries in place for what she was and wasn't allowed to do.
Right.
When sleeping with someone else, but he was basically allowed to do whatever he wanted. Lovely.
I know, That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if they're both going to have the same job, then they should both have the same. If there's going to be boundaries, they should both have the same boundaries, or if there's one's got no boundaries, then the other one shouldn't. That's my opinion.
Because they both know what they're getting themselves into. They both know what it involves. So
it's just the control, isn't it? He was in control. He wanted to be in control, and that's what he did. So, but then Kirsty discovered that Paul was using the internet to have sex with other women. So he was arranging to meet up with them, and he was saying that he was single.
He must be a sex addict then.
Well, this whole thing obviously revolves around sex. Well, by the signs of it, his life just revolves around sex.
Yeah.
She told her friends and family that she was going to leave him, as he had been on dogging websites, and she was sick of his cheating and lying. So Kirsty was making plans to leave Paul. She told her friend Martin that she had been to the bus station and she was going to go back to Coventry, because remember, that's where she was from originally.
Right.
So she was going to go back to Coventry and make a fresh start. Unfortunately, she never made it to Coventry. Despite her friends and family's pleas, she stayed with Paul. So a few days later, Kirsty and Paul had a night out in Swansea. They had a row and Paul went home early. Kirsty stayed out and she went home in the early hours of the morning, and she was never seen or heard from again. So, almost a year to the day since her wedding, Kirsty had gone missing.
Right.
She was last seen in the early hours of Saturday the 28th of March 2009 by the taxi driver who dropped her home after that night out.
Mm-hmm.
So on this, yes, that was the early hours of Saturday morning. So on the Sunday, Paul phoned Kirsty's friend Martin Richards, and he asked if Martin knew where Kirsty was. Martin had said, no, why, what's happened? And Paul said, oh, we had an argument and she came back to the flat, picked a few things up and she's gone.
Right.
And then the next morning, Paul phoned Kirsty's mum, Kathy, and asked if she had seen Kirsty, and she said no. And she asked if they'd been arguing, and he said no. But he said yes to the friend,
yeah.
but he said no to her, no idea.
Right.
So as Kirsty's disappearance was so out of character, Kathy told Paul to phone the police and report her missing.
Yeah.
He said he would, but Kathy was suspicious of him. Straight away, she was suspicious of him.
But she already had a bad feeling.
Yeah,
so
obviously.
And
she knew about the violence, and
yeah.
So she decided to phone the police herself just to make sure that she was being reported missing. and she
right.
she told them that Paul had tried to strangle Kirsty in the past.
Right.
Kirsty's sister Sonia, she phoned Paul, but she said some things that he said didn't add up. Mm-hmm. Sonia had asked what Kirsty had taken with her, and he had said that she had taken some ironed clothes that had been folded up on the bed. But she says Kirsty never ironed.
Right, okay.
Like, she would just, once her clothes were washed dry, she would just chuck them in the wardrobe.
Yeah.
So...
Didn't believe that.
Yeah, that just didn't ring true. Mm-hmm. And apparently she'd taken hair straighteners, but she hadn't taken a brush. And she'd taken cash, but not her bank card.
Right.
So, to me, that doesn't add up. I mean, you could maybe take in the hair straighteners and not a brush, okay. But why would you take cash and not your bank card?
True.
I wouldn't. Personally, I wouldn't.
Yeah, because if she was just leaving him, it's not like she was looking to disappear. You know, because if somebody wants to disappear, they don't want to show a trail of like where their bank card's been used if they don't want to be found. So, I mean, if she was looking to disappear and didn't want to be found, you could maybe understand that. But if she was just leaving him...
I actually just thought because he'd said that they'd had an argument and she'd got some things and left, I took that as she was just going away for a couple of days.
Yeah.
And I would take my bank card because, like, well, you never know when you're going to need something, so I took it as that. But, like, if she was actually intending on disappearing, then maybe she wouldn't want to take her bank card.
Yeah, maybe.
I never thought of it that way.
But then if she was just leaving him to like, leave him and she was going back to Coventry, like she was saying, then you'd think she would take her bank card because...
Yeah, but she wasn't because she hadn't packed all her stuff. He said that she only took some things. So to me, that, as I said, that sounded like they'd had an argument. She was like, I'm going to stay at my mum's or my friend's or something for a couple of days. And
yeah, maybe.
I don't know. That's just what happened.
Okay.
So Paul was playing the concerned husband to Kirsty's family, but he was actually continuing his party lifestyle of drugs and casual sex.
See, that just...
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, anybody that carries on in their normal life when their loved one's gone missing or something's happened, I just don't get that because I couldn't function. Like, I wouldn't even think of going anywhere.
Well, I think that's the first red flag, isn't it?
Yeah.
If I was the police, I'd be like, right, just arrest them now.
Well, exactly. Like, why are you going off doing your normal day-to-day stuff when your loved one's missing? You should be worried and...
You would be out looking, you'd be doing everything you could to try and find them.
To me, I'd be like, stop everything. Yeah. I need to find or need to know what's happened. I'm not doing anything that...
All you would be thinking about is finding your loved one. That's all you would be thinking about. So you wouldn't be going to work, you wouldn't be going out partying, you wouldn't be booking holidays like other people in the past. You know, everyone would just stop and you would be looking for your loved one. You'd be doing everything you could to help the police. Yeah. Searching for them, doing like press conferences, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So if you're out partying, you've done something wrong.
Well, I would be suspicious anyway.
Yeah, definitely, of course. So he even used Kirsty's credit card to withdraw money to pay for sex.
Really?
I'm sorry, but even if she wasn't missing, how low is that?
Yeah,
to go and use her money to go and pay for sex.
I mean, go to get it for free at home.
Exactly.
I don't get people.
He had parties at his flat. He visited a massage parlour. He searched the internet for looking for casual sex. He would say he was single, and he used Kirsty's Jeep to go and meet women to have sex with.
He's got a serious problem, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. And what a horrible person.
Yeah, totally.
And even one of the women that he got in contact with was the daughter of his old neighbour Heidi. You know, the one that he tried to run off the road? Yeah, so it was her daughter. He asked her for sex, and she said no.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm thinking, how stupid can you be when your wife is missing? You're contacting someone you know looking for sex.
Yeah, that's...
I could understand a bit more if it was a total stranger, because the stranger wouldn't know that his wife was missing. But I'm assuming that this woman probably did know that she was... Oh, I don't know. What an idiot. That's all I can say.
Yeah,
because
totally.
the police had launched a massive search for Kirsty, so anybody who knew him or Kirsty would know.
Well, yeah, that she was probably missing, yeah.
Yeah, so to go and ask her for that...
Was he that desperate?
I think he had a problem. It sounds like it. So the police had launched a massive search for her, interviewing everyone who knew her, but no one had seen her. Her friend Martin, he went round to the flat a week after her disappearance to see Paul, and he sat down and he looked up and he noticed a bit of the ceiling had been painted.
Right.
And he asked Paul about it, because it was just a patch. It wasn't like the whole ceiling, it was just a bit of it. And Paul said that he had started to paint it for Kirsty, but she didn't like the colour, so he stopped. Which I just thought was really weird, because I'm like, well, why didn't you...
Well, it was just a patch. Like, was it like a... Like, obviously it wasn't white then, was it? It was like a coloured patch?
It must have been it must have been coloured.
Right, okay.
But I'm just like, well, why didn't you get a different colour and paint it? Like, why have you just... I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, Martin also noticed that their rug was missing, so he reported it to the police.
Right.
So then there was a breakthrough in the investigation. The police discovered that Kirsty had tried to make a 999 call, but it hadn't connected.
Oh, I didn't know you could find that out without it connecting.
I don't know, like they must... Well, no, I don't know. I was going to try and explain that, and I thought I don't actually know.
I just thought maybe, like, you know, once it connects, that's how you kind of log a call that's connected. Like if
they've got her phone, maybe they can see.
Oh, yeah, maybe I'm thinking.
But I'm not quite...
I'm thinking of like a landline. My God, yeah, maybe a mobile. Right enough.
Oh right, okay, yeah. Sorry, I was talking about a mobile. But well, I'll read this paragraph because I was a bit confused by it anyway. Because it says that's when the police became extremely suspicious that something had happened to her, rather than her just leaving her husband. But I'm kind of confused as to how they had her phone, because I assumed by that they had her phone.
Yeah.
But Kirsty's mum Kathy had said that she had been texting Kirsty in the first couple of days,
right?
Not knowing that Paul had Kirsty's phone in his pocket and was reading everything that she sent. So I'm like, so if Paul had the phone,
they must have.
They
must have dived into like how they trace it or something like that, and you must be able to like see like their call log or something.
I suppose maybe if she'd phoned and it only kind of rang, it quickly rang and then managed to hang up. I suppose.
Maybe. Yeah, and I mean the police can obviously access like sort of stuff like that through the.
So I'm not too sure about the phone thing, but
yeah,
that's how they realised that something was definitely wrong.
Right. Okay. So
Paul was arrested on suspicion of murder, but he wouldn't talk. He just kept saying no comment to every question, which
to me that rings like you're guilty. If you're not done something, then you would be defending yourself. Wouldn't you?
If your wife has gone missing, you would do everything. You would answer every single question to help the police.
Exactly.
You would.
Yeah.
Sorry, but you would. If you've got nothing to hide.
Exactly.
So the search for Kirsty continued, and 8 days after she had disappeared, the police went to see Kathy and told her that a body had been found. So unfortunately, Kirsty's body had been found in a small suitcase next to the M4, just a few miles away from her mum's house.
Oh no, that's horrible.
I know. A lorry driver had stopped and had just happened to see the suitcase. He went over to have a look and he opened it, and the first thing he saw was a hand.
Oh God, I bet you got a fright.
Well, I know, can you imagine? So he just phoned the police straight away.
Yeah.
And this must be awful. Kathy went to identify her daughter's body. Can you... No. I was going to say, can you imagine? But you just couldn't imagine. She said that both of Kirsty's eyes were purple and swollen, that she couldn't even see her eyelashes. That's how swollen they were. There were fingerprints on her cheeks where she had been grabbed by the face. Her nose was broken, her jaw was broken, and she was covered in scratches. Her sister went as well with her mum, and her sister said she looked like a monster. She said there was blood, and there was still blood in her hair even after they'd washed it.
Oh, no.
And she was beaten beyond recognition. Sonia, her sister, couldn't even give her sister a kiss because she just terrified her. That's how bad she looked. She says her sister terrified her.
Yeah. That must be
how
horrible.
bad must that have been?
I know. I'm surprised that they actually let her. I mean, I know that she had to be identified in the first instance, but like, I mean, if I had to identify someone like that, I wouldn't want anybody else seeing if she was that bad.
It was just her mum and her sister.
Well, I know, but even if it was like, what a storm.
Everybody's different though.
Yeah.
You know, maybe what you would or wouldn't want is not necessarily what
True.
somebody else would do. So.
That's true.
So it appears that Kirsty was aware that Paul might kill her from what she wrote in her diary. She had made a list of what she wanted at her funeral if anything happened to her. She had wanted a pink coffin and pink flowers, but the most interesting thing was that she wanted her wedding and engagement rings to come off. So that's, what does that tell you?
Absolutely. But don't they take the jewellery off anyway?
Don't think so. You can get married with your jewellery on.
Okay. Or maybe it's just if you request to get it off.
Yeah, I think so. I think because maybe if the family want to keep it, or if you're getting cremated,
I guess so.
you would. But so she was 24. So at 24 years old, she knew that there was a good chance she was going to die, and that it would be at her husband's hand.
Yeah, that must be horrific to have that feeling.
What?
That must be horrific to have that feeling of thinking that could happen to you.
And she obviously felt trapped that she couldn't get away from it because she hadn't left him. So she obviously, she obviously felt that she couldn't leave him. Cool. And it goes to show to me anyway that there must have been a lot more violence than just a one-off that she told her sister.
Yeah,
if she knew that she might die at her husband's hand, then the violence must have been quite bad for her to know that.
Definitely.
So Paul appeared at Swansea Magistrates Court, charged with Kirsty's murder in February 2010. He showed no remorse in court and just didn't appear to be sorry. During the trial, it emerged that the married couple ran a sex-for-hire business from their home. They spent £1,000 a week on cocaine and had casual sex with strangers they contacted over the internet. They were last seen together having a row during a night out in Swansea. The court heard how in the early hours of Saturday the 28th of March 2009, Paul murdered his wife Kirsty in their flat. On that night, both of them had taken cocaine and been drinking. Paul dragged Kirsty from the bedroom and he hit her over the head with an object that I don't think they found it. It didn't say what the object was anyway.
Right, okay.
So it must have been something quite heavy.
Yeah.
And split her head open and then smashed her face with the same weapon. He battered and strangled her to death.
That's shocking. That's horrific.
There was a mark on her back where he had tried to cut her in half to fit her into the suitcase. But he probably realised it was going to be like way too messy and too much of a job for him. I think he was too lazy to do it.
Right.
That's not me saying that. I think that was her mum that said that.
Right, okay.
She thought he was too lazy to do it. So
right,
obviously I don't know him.
Yeah.
So, but instead he folded her into the suitcase, and apparently the suitcase was really small. So it must have taken quite a bit of effort to get her in there. That's horrible, isn't it?
That is horrific.
He then took the suitcase downstairs and put it in the boot of Kirsty's car. So he even used her car.
That's a bit insulting, isn't it?
He drove along the M4. He stopped and he just threw the suitcase down the embankment.
Just threw it?
Yeah, to me that is the ultimate disrespect. I mean, obviously what he's done, like killing her and everything that, but to me just...
You throw her away like she doesn't matter.
Yeah, you've killed her, and then to do that with her body is... I don't even have the words.
No, I don't have the words either.
So when he returned to the flat, it was covered in blood, and that's why he painted a bit of the ceiling.
Right.
So to cover the blood splashes. I mean, was he too lazy to do the whole ceiling? Come on, seriously. If you're actually trying to cover it up, surely you do the whole ceiling so that people wouldn't notice. But
like I say, maybe if it was like already white, because I don't know. Sometimes, like when I've looked at a ceiling, and in one light it can look alright, but then in another light you can see like there's a patch being missed or something, so maybe he thought
Yeah, but he
that.
said that she didn't like the colour, so I'm assuming it wasn't white, because white's not really a colour, is it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah, not us.
No.
And I'm assuming the rug was covered in blood, so that's why he got rid of that.
Yeah.
Blood stains were found on a mopping bucket that had been used to clean the flat after the murder.
Right.
Kirsty's family think that he looked through his wedding photos after killing her, as there is a bloody footprint on one of the pages in the photo album. And they went,
Oh, right,
yeah,
okay.
I actually saw it.
Did you?
It's a bit chilling to see that.
Is that one of those photos you'll be putting up?
No, it was on a video.
Oh.
I didn't actually see a photo of it, so it was a documentary.
Alright.
On the 4th of February 2010, the jury retired to consider their verdict. It only took them 5 hours to come to a unanimous decision that Paul Grabham was guilty of murdering his wife Kirsty. The judge gave him a life sentence and ordered him to serve a minimum of 19 years. So obviously he's still in jail because that was only 10 years ago.
Does that mean it might be able to apply for parole?
Well, he's got to serve a minimum of 19 years, so he's got at least another 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
And just as an afternote, Kirsty's big sister Hayley, which I haven't mentioned because she wasn't in the documentary,
right.
but because she had 2 sisters, our big sister Hayley struggled to cope with Kirsty's murder and turned to alcohol, and she basically drunk herself to death 5 years later. So that poor family lost two.
Yeah.
To the kid, that woman, lost 2 of her
with
kids.
it, yeah.
That's awful. I think I'm not quite sure how old she was. Maybe, Kirsty was 24. It was 5 years. I think it was maybe in her. I think she was only in maybe her early 30s, and she wouldn't leave the house. She just turned to drink, and
That's a shame.
she was 5 years later. She died. Can you imagine? So basically, that man is to blame for 2 women's deaths.
Yeah, really.
Because if her sister hadn't been murdered, then
Totally.
Hayley wouldn't have turned to the drink.
Totally.
So there you go. That was another horrible
Yeah, I know.
story
Don't
of
like
a
that
horrible
one.
monster.
I know. You'll never get much sex now, will you?
No, well, I don't know.
Well, actually, yeah.
If he's that desperate for it,
Well,
he
yeah,
might.
maybe.
And it never said he was exclusively women that he slept with, so
True.
you never know.
Very true.
But yeah,
Does
his
it-
life just seemed to revolve around sex.
Yeah. I know. Just seems like if that was the life he wanted to live, fine, but why then marry the poor girl? Just carry on doing what you're doing as a single man and
Because I think he wanted the money. He wanted to use her
to get more money.
to get more money, but
Maybe he wasn't that good at it and he wasn't earning much money.
no idea. But yep, that's another one done. Another one bites the dust. So
God.
another case bites the dust is what I just meant there.
Yeah.
I just thought that I just realised that could have sounded really offensive when I said another one bites the dust.
Yeah, that wasn't what I meant.
Yeah, I didn't mean as a death. I meant as in another
Another
case
case, yes.
bites the dust.
Another case bites the
Yeah,
dust.
so if you'd like to follow us on social media, we are on Twitter and Instagram.
Crime_divers_pod.
We have a Facebook page.
Which is Crime Divers Podcast,
We're on YouTube.
which is just Crime Divers and it's all one word.
I think it's Crime Divers Podcast.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
You'll find
Search,
us
fine. You can email us.
at crime_divers_pod@outlook.com.
And if you would like to support us on Patreon, head on over to patreon.com and search for Crime Divers. And thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week.
Bye.